In August 1965, in the small Canadian town of Winnipeg, Janet Reimer gave birth to twin boys, Bruce and Brian.
We were so pleased and so proud when we settled right into our little one-room apartment.
But within 6 months, events would take a dramatic turn.
Bruce and Brian both started having trouble urinating. The doctors suggested circumcision.
Strangely, the doctors had chosen an extremely unconventional method of circumcision. Bruce's penis had been completely destroyed.
Daily I was crying. Every time I changed his diaper, I'd cry. I was in shock for a while. I guess about a year I was in shock.
Within weeks, Janet Reimer had taken her son to the prestigious Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, where John Money ran a world-famous unit. There, Money's team explained to her how to turn her little boy Bruce into a little girl, make him think and act for the rest of his life like a female. Back in the early 60s, gender assignment surgery had only ever been performed on intersex children. But Money's ideas went beyond the specific problem of intersex. He had devised, he believed, a universal theory about gender identity, that we are all born with an unformed sense of being male or female. So, theoretically, any boy could be raised as a girl, even if he'd been born completely normal. Then, in 1967, John Money became involved with the baby boy Bruce Reimer. Bruce was not intersex. It was the first time that Money's theories would be used to help a completely normal boy.
Dr. Money felt that it was going to be helpful to change Bruce into a female because he knew of the heartbreak and horror Bruce would have to go through living as a male when at that time there was no possibility of enhancement surgery for men.
On the 3rd of July, Bruce Reimer was surgically castrated. He was 22 months old. From now on, Bruce would be Brenda. She would be raised as a girl, treated as a girl, encouraged to behave as a girl. She would receive psychological support, and at puberty she would be given female hormones. It seemed the ultimate test that nurture could override nature. If it worked, Brenda would grow up not only with the body of a woman, but with the mind of a woman as well. Back in Winnipeg, Brenda was growing up out of the public eye. She was making her way through school. By now, John Money had written another book describing the twins' case as dramatic proof of his theory about gender identity. But far away from the textbooks, the family were dealing with the reality of the situation. Bringing up Brenda was not always easy.
I could see that Brenda wasn't happy as a girl, no matter what I tried to do for her, no matter how I tried to instruct her. She was very rebellious. She was very masculine, and I could not persuade her to do anything feminine. Brenda had almost no friends growing up. Everybody ridiculed her, called her cave woman. She was a very lonely my girl.
At about this time, the local psychiatrist looking after Brenda wrote to John Money about the concerns she had with Brenda's development. Brenda was showing clear signs of being deeply disturbed and unhappy. John Money didn't publish this. When Brenda was 13, the Reimer family decided to stop seeing Money. From then on, nothing would be heard about Brenda for 15 years. During this time, most of the scientific community continued to believe that the case was a success. Dramatic proof of the whole idea that you could change the gender identity of a perfectly normal boy. When Brenda was 14, after years of unhappiness, her parents revealed her true sex at birth. Within a few months, Brenda had decided to become David.
It's coming, it's a-coming.
For the last 10 years, he has been married and living in Winnipeg with his wife and her 3 children. He has undergone surgery to have his penis reconstructed.
Make sure the car won't move.
Unaware of the significance his case had had to science, David had never realized how important it might be to go public.
By me not saying anything, the medical community was under the impression that my case was a success story. And I was shocked when I heard that people thought that my case was a success story.
David's case has also caused the medical community to re-examine another belief. The theory that we are all born neutral is now being questioned by many.
In the 21st century, we can say that the theory of gender neutrality was wrong, that there are important biological factors that play a role. What the mixture is between environmental and biological factors is going to take us a long time to sort out.
I was never happy as Brenda. Never. And I'd slit my throat before I go back to that. I'd never go back to that. It didn't work because that's life. Because you're human. You're not stupid. And eventually, you wind up being who you are.
What we do know is that Dr. Money's theory that it is possible to raise a boy as a girl does not seem to hold true for most children. Nature, as far as gender identity is concerned, cannot be overridden by nurture. Above all, this is a cautionary tale. This is what can happen when science pursues a beautiful theory with scant regard for the human cost.
You're always going to see people that are going to say, well, the Dave Reimer case could have been successful. I'm living proof. And if you're not going to take my word as gospel, because I have lived through it, who else are you going to listen to? Who else is there? I've lived through it. Is it going to take somebody to wind up killing themselves, shooting themselves in the head for people to listen?